Hello, and welcome to the podcast. This is Johnny.
And this is Ryan.
In this podcast, we dissect and analyze a movie and enjoy a nice little free-flowing conversation as we go.
Today's movie is Magic Mike from 2012. Not the Magic Mike, not the original from 1952. That was a completely different movie. You never saw that one?
No, I did not. I did not know that was a thing.
Oh, it's not. Magic Mike is a movie about strippers.
Yeah,
They strip.
they do.
It's a group of male strippers who just have a jolly old time, drinking, smoking. Do they smoke? They do a lot of drugs.
They do drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a good time.
And Mike, the main character, he picks up like a new recruit. Adam is the other main male character's name.
Yes.
And it's the trials and tribulations of their ragtag group of male strippers, along with some love interest stuff going on with Mike and Adam's sister. And it's a movie.
It really was. It has a title. It has a plot. And it has...
mostly has a plot.
It mostly has a plot. And it has an ending. A happy ending.
It kind of had an ending.
I guess it was happy for Mike. Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, it was.
Sure.
So, Magic Mike, Johnny, what was your general... so I guess we should say, first of all, two things. One, unlike our last episodes, our previous episodes of this podcast, neither of us had seen this movie before. We decided to try one that we hadn't seen and loved already and pick a movie that had kind of a cultural moment.
It did.
And see what that moment was about. Because I know when this movie came out, it wasn't like at the top of my list of movies to see. I wasn't opposed. I wasn't mycophobic, but it didn't grab me. I never saw it, but it really had like an extended moment of success.
Yeah, I had a number of friends, telling me, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go see Magic Mike this weekend." All very excited.
And I heard a lot of good things about it when it came out. And
yeah, it was well received at its release.
I think it got mostly good critical reviews.
I guess. I don't know why.
Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
So we picked it to find a movie that had some sort of a cultural moment.
A mark in cultural history.
It left its mark on our culture, and we were going to see what that was all about. So, Johnny. Oh, the other second thing. Spoilers throughout. Probably not a fun podcast if you have not seen Magic Mike. Well, it's still fun, but just you can't care about spoilers.
Well, fortunately for the viewers or listeners, the movie is readily available on Netflix streaming service. We are not endorsed by Netflix, but we do pick most of our movies.
We try to have them be available to stream somewhere so you can watch them if you'd like, and this one's on Netflix.
Yes.
At the moment in America, in July of 2018, Magic Mike is on Netflix.
We would like to make it as easy as possible for you, the viewer, to be able to watch the movie, and because I know you really want to listen to our podcast. I understand.
But you can't. You can't if you haven't seen the movie.
This is true. So go see the movie, I guess.
Are you going to follow everything that could possibly be positive about Magic Mike with, I guess? Are you just going to hedge everything?
I feel like if I were a writer for a major magazine, editor, whatever, that would be my quote.
Like
if it was on the movie poster,
your one sentence review.
My one sentence review would be, "It was a movie, I guess."
It's not scathing. It's not a scathing review.
No.
It's just a very tepid review.
I didn't at any point want to turn the movie off.
Did the movie at any point turn you off?
I was turned on for the most of the movie.
Nice.
But not in the intellectual way. It was more physical.
The penis way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was purely physical.
Absolutely.
It's like a Tinder date.
I've never been on a Tinder date. I did some other of those online
But
ones.
you get the gist of you're there for one thing.
Oh, right. Mike and his magic.
Yeah.
Although, there's a couple dongs in the movie. Channing Tate...
1.5.
1.5. Yeah, there's one full-on penis in a penis pump, like, in the foreground of a shot near the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's another one slightly later that's, like, just the silhouette behind a...
Screen?
Yeah, like a silhouette screen for, like, a changing room.
Yeah. I expected more dongs.
I wouldn't say I expected it, but it was mildly surprising. I mean, because here's the thing. The movie starts with, after the one little intro scene of Matthew McConaughey, who's great in this, I guess, it goes through the main title, and then the first scene of the movie, they actually did a really good job of like, grabbing your interest with the opening scene. So here's how it goes. He wakes up, and it's just Channing Tatum. He sits up in bed and he looks all hungover. You know, okay, here's our male stripper. He's hungover. He probably partied last night. And then the next shot, you see this girl he's with, Olivia Munn, and she's naked. She's getting dressed. And I was like, Olivia Munn is naked. I can't complain about this movie yet. And then they're talking. There's a little bit of banter. And then you see that there's a second woman still asleep in the bed. And you're like, oh, it was a threesome.
Yeah.
And then you find out that that woman's a stranger. Neither of them knows her name. And they're kind of like joking about, oh, you don't know her name? Oh, how do you not know her name? And you're like, oh, like this couple picked up a stranger to have a threesome. Then you find out that Olivia Munn and Channing Tatum are also strangers, basically. Like, they're clearly not close. They joke, he's like, oh, don't steal my stuff, stranger, whatever. Like, the escalation of, like, slowly revealing these details throughout that scene I thought was really interesting.
I guess. Sure. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. But I do want to give you one word of advice.
Okay.
Is I did notice at the beginning of this sentence that you did kind of steal my shtick there with the I guess.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah. That's mine.
Okay.
I would appreciate it if you didn't do that again. I will quit this podcast. I will walk out the door.
No, I gotcha. I mean, I can live with that, I guess.
Anywho. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there.
So,
I guess. The plot was basically boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, leaves everything for girl, gets girl. The story wasn't about, well, in the beginning of the movie, you meet Adam, who is, you learn, has a attractive sister, I guess. That was not intentional, I guess, by the way. That was, it's gonna happen often.
That was just you saying she's not your type.
Her face, okay. We're gonna come back to her face at some point in this podcast. But, so you meet him, and it seems as though he's going to be kind of a bigger character in this movie.
He is a main character in terms of the amount of screen time he gets.
I guess, but his relevancy doesn't really matter in the big picture.
He doesn't. They don't do a lot with his character. The movie's really about his sister Brooke and Mike.
Yeah,
and their budding romance.
I guess. I need to stop saying that, but it's just kind of it's the only thing I could think of. He is essentially there to fool the audience into thinking that he's important to the plot. He's not. His only purpose is a bridge to the love interest, which is the sister. And throughout the movie, you know, Mike's doing his thing, and he's got these dreams of being... he wants to build his own furniture and sell it. He works multiple jobs. He's been saving money for a long time.
Yeah, he does construction, he does stripping, he makes some furniture. They might have mentioned others, like I think they might have named 5 or 10 jobs he does throughout the movie, but those are the only ones we see.
But the point is that he has aspirations and he has dreams, and he wants to do something other than stripping.
Yeah.
Though he does have a lot of interest in the strip club's move to Miami, but more, I think, for getting a cut of the profits. Is that what it was? He had a deal with...
Yes. with Dallas, Matthew McConaughey, the leader of the troop, the elder statesman of the male
so
troopers.
Houston,
it's Dallas. Let's just call him El Paso.
I like that. Yeah, so that's the story is essentially the brother keeps fucking up. He's getting kind of more into this seedy lifestyle of Miami.
I mean, they're in...
No, sorry, they're in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, the Miami's where they're gonna move to.
Yeah, and the budding relationship grows. It starts when she goes to one of his shows and sees Mike dancing.
Oh yeah, a little later. Yeah, somewhat into the movie after they've met once or twice and he's kind of flirted with her.
Yeah.
She goes just to check on her brother, and I did air quotes there, but she sticks around to watch Magic Mike's act. And
she likes it?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. That's, I think, supposed to be a pivotal scene in the movie where she doesn't dismiss him fully. Like, it's the first time that she's, like, kind of into him. Yeah. He's doing his routine, and it's all sexy and good. And then it keeps cutting back to Brooke's face watching him. And she does nothing with her face. She says nothing.
Her face is broken.
She might have been staring at paint dry the way that she was reacting in that
Well, she reacts the same way to him dancing that she does to finding her brother all passed out on the couch, or like, you know, any big stressful situation that she's in, or any happy situation that she's in.
Well, there's the
she
one
has
time...
the same face. There's one time she emotes.
It's at the end when he actually is like fucking like dying on drugs on the floor. But she freaks out, and it's actually, I mean, it wasn't like it was believable, but at least it was something.
She emotes that's the only emote that you see.
Yeah, I guess what we're getting at is that
she has a boring face.
The actress who played Brooke, the love interest, was one of the worst, most boring portrayals of a character I think I've seen in a long time.
And she's supposed to be one of the characters that you give a shit about.
Yes. I
did not give a shit about her.
The only thing that makes you give a shit about her is that, like, you feel bad that this, like, good older sister who kind of took her brother in is having to deal with all this bullshit of him partying and stuff. Like, you feel bad that that's happening, like you would feel bad about that happening to anybody, but you don't really care about her personally like you should a character of that magnitude in a movie.
Well, based off of her facial expression, I don't think she was having that hard of a time.
I think she just hides her pain.
I think she huffs too much paint.
She bottles it all up and then just does the same face to mask it all the time. It's literally a mask.
I don't think it's that deep. I think.
Oh no, me neither.
Okay. Yeah, no. I think she's just a bad actor, and I think that
it was
even the main character was not all that interesting. Mike was not a very interesting person. He repeatedly promises this girl that he's gonna look after her brother, and her brother just keeps getting deeper and deeper. So, but he doesn't really do anything. He does one noble thing, which is the money he saved up he uses to bail the brother out of a drug deal gone wrong.
Yeah, he lost $10,000.
And that's how they fall in love.
Yeah, he bought her love with $10,000.
So it's like you just take these two shallow, empty husks of people, but one of them dances well with his shirt off.
And one of them is a medical professional.
No, she's not. Well, I guess she is.
They bring that up and then it never comes back.
It doesn't, because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like, it didn't play into her character at all. Like, why bring up her job if her job doesn't matter? Because, like, jobs are a big part of this movie. Like, the career of being a stripper versus the furniture building. And then Olivia Munn's character.
She was a psychologist.
She was a psychologist, which I thought was kind of like, there should have been way more of her in the movie because she was one of the more interesting parts of it, and she was in like 4 scenes. She's a psychologist, and I don't know if they said it outright in the movie, but you definitely get the sense that she's fucking Mike as a psychological experiment almost to like she's, because you find out in her last scene in the movie that she has a fiance, and that this whole time it's just been like a side fling. Mike was her side hoe. I think a big part of why she was with him was almost like, I don't want to say research, but as someone where they make it clear that she's a psychologist or a psychology student, 3 credits away from being a shrink, I think is the way that she puts it. And she keeps her distance from Mike to the point that you get the sense that he's almost like a clinical trial subject or a patient of some sort. And like that dynamic could have been explored a lot more, because I thought that was really interesting.
See, I had a different takeaway from that whole relationship altogether. And the takeaway that I had was that she was nearly done with school. You find out that she's nearly done with school. She's, going to school to be a psychologist. Mm-hmm. And I felt like her fucking around with Mike and at the party scene, because she was at they went to an island at some point where all the strippers were there.
Right.
And she was there, and it was clear that she shared like a similar lifestyle to the Tampa party scene. And my takeaway was that there was a parallel between her and Mike, and I might be giving this movie too much credit.
Oh no, I'm going to continually give this movie too much credit throughout the podcast. Like you can join me if you'd like.
I will periodically, but for the most part, I'm going to be the counterbalance.
Okay.
But my takeaway was that she was living out this childish early 20s lifestyle at this party scene and fucking with Mike, and she had, a little bit of time left before it was time to grow up. And then she was going to finish school. She's going to get married.
And it was going to turn back into a pumpkin, basically.
Exactly. And on the opposite side of that spectrum, you have Mike, who's, in his 30s, still stripping. He's got these aspirations that have not gone anywhere.
Yeah, there's
so he's in a total the total reversal. It's like a parallel, and I think that could also be what made Mike kind of lose it when he found out she was getting engaged. She was moving on and doing what she wanted to do with her life and growing up, and he was in this state of Arrested Development where he talks about doing all these things, but have they happened yet? No.
Right. Yeah. Basically, the plot, the type of plot that it is the like man-child who is Peter Pan meets someone who turns him into or makes him want to turn into an adult.
Right.
And when Brooke, Miss One Face love interest, like kind of rejects him after he had been starting to realize that he wanted to pursue her and maybe settle down and leave his stripping life and all of that, he goes back to trying to hit up Joanna, who's Olivia Munn's character, and she's like, no, I'm busy. Oh, can't see you tonight or tomorrow or whatever. Like, it's this whole conversation that he has where he realizes, like, oh, I'm not a priority for her at all.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it's like, oh, he finally kind of changed enough to want a real relationship, and then it didn't work out perfectly right away, so he just reverts back and gets lonely and sad and wants to go back to his, like, lonely, sad psych experiment of a sexual relationship. But she's kind of over that, in a way. Joanna is.
Yeah.
He runs it, and then, he runs into her again at a restaurant with her fiance, and then from there is where we get the climactic drug binge disaster scene.
Yeah.
So, and everything interesting that happens in the movie is a scene with Joanna in it, and she's relegated to the sidelines for the most part.
Yeah, I mean,
not everything interesting, but there could have been this really interesting love triangle dynamic where her and Brooke had, like, satisfied very different needs of Mike's, and he was really forced to choose between them on equal ground, but it was really that Olivia Munn's
that would be
character,
too smart for the movie.
Yeah, it was not it was a fairly dumb movie.
It was a pretty dumb movie.
Writing and plot-wise. I mean, let's be fair, though. It's a movie about male strippers.
That could be interesting.
It could be, but like, there's plenty of movies that are about soldiers in the military that are really smart and in depth, and then there are plenty of them where it's just like, I just want to watch shit get blown up. Right?
Yeah,
and it's dumb, but we accept it. It's fun because you get that kind of appeal out of it. So if you're into watching like men dance and take all their clothes off, it's okay to me if the rest of the movie is dumb, because it was definitely, there was enough of that if that's what you were there for. First of all, they didn't skimp on the stripping.
They were the best scenes in the movie.
I honestly didn't think so.
All those hard bodies?
Here's the thing. I thought that part of the appeal of the movie was going to be some really, really good dancing. And that's not what happened. I mean, maybe that's... I've never been to a Chippendale show, but I was under the impression that there would be either some, like, feats of strength and body control, or just some really cool dance moves that also happen to involve taking your clothes off. Those scenes were funny and entertaining in a certain way, but they weren't as impressive as I was kind of hoping they would be going in.
Yeah, but you knew when you saw those scenes that you were going to see Dallas.
That's
and
true.
Every scene, every character interaction with Dallas, who was played by Matthew McConaughey, was a delight.
Yeah, he was great, and he was the villain of the movie. Really,
I guess. Yeah, sure. He was the villain.
He totally was, because the whole time there's this plot line of Mike wanting equity in the company when they move to Miami, and he's gonna finally get his cut because he's the veteran of the group. Like, Dallas he's like 40 something and runs the show, but Mike at 30 is like the senior dancer.
He's a star. He's
the star. He's his best dancer, and so he wants to get that. And you just always got the sense. I mean, they were very clear with the, let's call them subtleties.
Oh, you mean with the bargaining of 7.5% over 10%?
Yeah.
That it was clear that the entire time he did not intend to give him what he deserved or what he wanted.
Yes.
Oh, surprise.
And so then when he didn't give him the equity that he wanted, and there's even this like villain scene kind of near the end of the movie, I'd say, like,
yeah,
end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3-ish part
like
of the movie.
3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, where he's like, you're not going to do anything about it, and, you know, I'm in command of the whole thing, and he's kind of like humiliating Mike. And then they're just, the next scene together, they're just at work together, like they put all that aside because they still have to dance and get naked. It was, but it's kind of how coworker fights go sometimes. I mean, you say really nasty things behind the scenes, but then when it's time to do the job, you still do it.
Well, it's separating business from personal life.
Right, even though the business gets really personal.
Yeah, but you have to be able to separate it.
It's like Shaq and Kobe, you know?
Yeah, sure. I know baseball.
I can tell. Was it baseball? Now I'm forgetting. You've confused me.
Does it matter?
No.
So, here's the thing about this movie. My attention and my interest wasn't directed towards the characters in any way, except for Dallas and Joanna, because they were the only characters that were interesting at all. But what drove me to continue watching this movie, aside from the fact that I had to do this stupid fucking podcast, is it wasn't about the characters. It was just about the events and the actions happening in the movie that were exciting.
Yeah.
That really kept you watching. The characters to me were all, for the most part, one-dimensional, boring, didn't care about them. But there's exciting stuff happening in the story. And that's where my interest was held.
And not just in the story. There was some really just very interesting moments, like when they have a party at that house during a hurricane, and then they like take ecstasy or something like it, and there's like a baby pig that's just like a pet pig in the house that they're all partying at, and it just seemed like the surface level party culture of the Florida coast that they wanted to kind of get across as the lifestyle of the characters. Like the house party with the drugs and the guy showing off his naked wife and the baby pig, just like that to me was just like, I've never been in a place quite like that, but I bet that's the Florida they want us to see, and I bet it's real. You know, like that Florida is out there.
I've been to Florida. I know exactly what the scene is like.
I've been to Pensacola, Florida, which is not the same. That's basically Alabama.
Yeah, I was at Key West.
Oh, okay.
So, I know how to party.
Because you watched people party?
I was like 12. I went to Key West. And, man,
and then
I've never done so many drugs in my life.
Adderall, Dimetap, ibuprofen, Alka-Seltzer. What's that stuff they give you for seasickness? Probably took that too.
Little Dramamine.
Dramamine.
I know what's up.
Did you get drammed up?
Dude, I was so drowsy. Fucking kidding me? That's what I imagine a 12-year-old party is. getting cough syrup and Dramamine, and
Well, you know
going up to the tree fort or your stepmom's place, and just.
I mean, that's why they won't sell cough syrup to kids nowadays, right? You know, that's
No, I know, but that's the thing is you
damn
stockpile
kids in their cough syrup.
You stockpile it throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, you have a killer party.
Yeah, full of Dramamine, Dimetap, and Robitussin.
Oh, yeah, because Tussin fucks you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
We should have a 12-year-old party sometime where it's just you and I, adults, doing things that 12-year-olds do to get fucked up.
We'd have to sleep in. We'd have to find, because this was a staple of my childhood, the Ninja Turtle non-insulated sleeping bags.
Okay.
So then you sleep on the living room floor as you watch movies and stuff, and then it's after midnight and you start trying to whisper because your parents are asleep, but then you just stay up till 3 a.m. anyway.
Yeah.
I'm down. We could do that.
Yeah.
And that feeling of like it's just you and me, you know, having a party in the house, doesn't matter what else is going on outside. That was kind of the feeling in that scene with the hurricane going on. There's just like news about how awful the weather is and the destruction, and these people
Hurricane Elaine, which I looked it up, is not a real hurricane.
That makes sense. I bet. Yeah.
I looked up hurricanes in 2011 and 2012.
There's no Elaine.
There's no Elaine.
Do you think it was a Seinfeld reference? Boom, 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 boom.
Nailed it. So one of the things about the party was a lot of cool effects. Lighting was really cool. The drug haze lighting. I guess that's kind of generic though.
Yeah, no, they did it really well.
I guess.
Like it was very red lit during their drugs and party scenes, and then it was very brightly lit, like floor. It was literally like it was.
There's
lit.
a yellow lens, like a sunlight lens.
When they're
outside.
Yeah.
So every outside shot is very bright.
Yeah, I think it was intentional. This is a time that I might be giving the movie too much credit, right? But I think they were trying to draw a visual parallel between the shaky cam, lots of cuts, weird angles, red lighting, weirdness of the night.
The chaotic party scene visual.
Yeah, they did it multiple times in the movie. There'd be a lot of close-ups. They'd be claustrophobic in a car. Things would get weird, just lighting and camera work wise.
Yeah.
And then, when they're at whatever the scene is where they're at like the mini golf place with the food court, and it's just these wide shots, very slow pans, if any, static shots, bright light, easily digestible visuals that are like, oh, this is the real world, this is the normal world. And I think they were trying to make that be also like the two sides of Mike. Like his character was someone they wanted to have these two competing, almost like competing egos inside. There's the one who just wants to party and strip and make money, and then there's the one that he finds out exists throughout the course of the movie where he's, falling in love with this girl and wants to just make furniture and grow up. And like he's always said that he wanted those things, but now he's realizing he really does. And I think the visual dichotomy between, day Mike and night Mike was very intentional.
I have to disagree.
Okay.
And let me tell you why.
Okay, let's go.
There were plenty of scenes in the daytime where he would be talking about what he does or acting in a very immature way and doing his little dance moves, like when they're at the golf course and he starts dry humping the table.
I wasn't saying that when they do these daytime, conventional shots that Mike is going to act adult and conventional during those scenes. I just saw it as them having kind of a two sides theme to the movie in general.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, sure. You might be giving it too much credit.
I mean,
there were also scenes in the club when the lighting was dark, and then there was a tense moment where he says, where he's talking to Dallas about, I'll fucking walk. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's coincidental, and I think it's only there to show club scene, not club scene. Light, dark and crazy, simple and clean. I mean, maybe you're right. I can't say for sure, but that's not what I got from it. I didn't notice it, but that's not what I got from it.
Okay. I mean, there was also like one scene that I really liked was after they've gone on their like last big bad bender. Mm-hmm. And Brooke finds Adam, who, funny enough, we said that he was pointless, and we've completely not discussed him because he really is kind of pointless.
He's only there. Yeah, he's
a plot device. He's not.
He's
a
a plot device. Well, none of them are really characters. They're kind. I guess they kind of are.
But
he's
honestly,
less of a character. He's a prop.
For the amount of screen time he gets, he's an embarrassingly thin character.
They have scenes with just him. So you think that he's more important than he is, but the scene then is pointless because who cares?
Yeah. So the scene that I wanted to talk about real quick is after they go on their bender, and his sister finds him in the room, and she's freaking out. And it's the one time that she actually acts in the whole movie. And then they're driving home, and he's in the back seat, and the camera is 90 degrees sideways the whole time. Like her head is it's like the roof of the car is on the right side of the screen, because it's from his point of view in the back seat laying down, but then also when it goes to him in the back seat, like he's sideways. And there were some, I mean, it's directed by Steven Soderbergh. He's an accomplished, slick, at the very least, director. He did all the Ocean's movies. He did Traffic. He did a really good movie called Side Effects that was like a thriller that had to do with prescription drugs being like used and abused. Total side note, but Soderbergh knows what the hell he's doing, like
making a
film. And
maybe
there was some interesting stuff in there like that, like with the camera work in the car that was very just skewed sideways to make you feel like, oh yeah, like this character is fucked up. He's viewing the world 90 degrees different from how you should.
Right. I think he excels in that, but where he does not excel is character development.
Not in this film, but he didn't write it. Channing Tatum wrote the movie, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
I think he co-wrote it, or it was like semi-biographically based on his time.
Yeah.
He was a stripper when he was younger before he made it big with acting. And I think that was kind of the motivation for making the movie. He wasn't like the credited screenwriter, but this was his project for sure. I think he got the financing for it and made it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, he kind of like got together with a team, and it included Steven Soderbergh. But yeah, he did, I think, here's where I'll give the movie a lot of credit. It did a really good job with what it had on like a technical level. I found the visuals, the camera work, the lighting, the scenery to be interesting. I loved that the set for the strip club scene, it was nice, like it was an upscale club, but it definitely looked fake and cheap, like you would expect a strip joint to look. It didn't look like a Hollywood set. Like they did a good job with those little details.
Yeah.
Where you look at it and you go like, that doesn't look like they're trying to make it look seedy for the sake of it, but it also doesn't look so nice like they forgot how to make things sleazy because they're in Hollywood. Like the set was...
Yeah, they're in Tampa.
Yeah.
That looked like a Tampa strip club. I mean, for $7 million, which was the budget for this film, they used that money well. They made a competent film. It was competent. What was happening was interesting, while the characters weren't. It was okay, but I don't think I was part of the target audience for this film.
Well, no, we weren't.
I would like to compare this film to a franchise like Fast and the Furious, a very successful franchise. Fast cars, women, action. It's what a lot of guys want to be.
So is this like the aimed at women equivalent? Not that they would want to be male strippers, but like kind of a fantasy played out?
I don't know who it was aimed at, but it wasn't me.
I just know that in my personal life in 2012, I had several friends who saw it, loved it, some who saw it again, and they were all women.
See, I had male friends and female friends that were telling me about this movie, or telling me they were going to go see the movie, or they loved the movie.
Interesting.
It was just a lot of people I knew, and then on Facebook, I saw a lot of people, going to see Magic Mike. Oh my God, it was an amazing film.
Do you think that part of the appeal was just that it was territory that mainstream Hollywood had not gone to? Like this male objectification in this way, that they weren't action stars and they weren't police officers, and there was just like a novelty to it? No?
I'm shaking my head.
Yeah. No. You don't think there was any novelty appeal to it when it came out?
I think the appeal was that in 2012, this is following the success of 21 Jump Street. Channing Tatum was a pretty hot actor at that time.
Yeah.
He was pretty big in 2012.
He was.
I I don't know what he's up to these days or how popular he is, but at that time he was hot shit. He was a big deal.
I don't think that's enough to get people to love a movie though after seeing it. That's enough to get someone to go see it.
Yeah, but
that's not enough to get people to say they love it.
But the movie, I think, is pretty good at tricking you into thinking that it's more than it is.
It definitely presents itself as very cool.
Yes.
And I think it is kind of these... I was about to call the movie avant-garde.
Oh, I was about to call the people that like the movie mouth breathers.
And that's what I'm getting at, though, is that this movie mixes those two worlds, where, like, it presents itself as much more than it is, and the mouth breathers believe it.
Yeah.
And so it appeals in some way.
I want to just, a little disclaimer, when I say mouth breathers, that's probably not the right term. It's not nice, and I don't mean it in a mean way, but there are two types of people. People that go to movies that want to have a good time and get away from everything and just watch a fucking movie and relax. And then there's crazy people like Ryan and I that have to break apart everything and critique and just tear the movie apart and get as little joy as possible out of a movie with minimal flaws.
I think there's a big middle group who appreciates quality filmmaking, who does have a critical eye for things, but who is really there for the escapism and the general experience, but who's not... When we say mouth breather, that means we're talking about the idiots. We are. Let's not sugarcoat it. We're talking about the idiots. And if you're one of them, you probably don't know it because you're an idiot. So it doesn't matter. We can insult them all we want.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not that this movie is only going to appeal to idiots. I mean, I didn't dislike it.
It was fine. It was an okay movie, I guess.
I guess to me it was more interesting than good because of the very incompetent and strange choices made throughout, coupled with some really interesting, well done stuff and some characters I was like really into. And so, like, if you average an A and an F, like, you get a C, which is what I think of this movie. But, like, that's more interesting than just everything across the board being moderately okay.
Yeah.
There was some really well done and some really interesting stuff in this movie. And then some stuff that was just like, well, what the fuck? Like, there was no soundtrack. There was one soundtrack song. It's when they're driving the boat to the island for the party. Everything else was party music. It was, like, diegetic, club, dancing, whatever. Everything else, they were just, like, letting the movie speak for itself. And there was some scenes that they really let breathe. And it just, like, yeah, that was cool, but the scenes were mouth-breathing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that, to me, was more interesting than just an okay movie that was just okay in every way.
You know, when I'm looking... I find more entertainment out of a movie that really works on their characters.
Yeah, me too.
That's where a lot of my interest lies when I watch movies. Sometimes the plot take the back seat if the characters are interesting enough. Well, no, it's how the characters interact with the plot and within themselves and with each other that really make a movie great for me.
And like, just to talk about another Soderbergh movie, Ocean's 11 was really successful.
That was all right.
I don't think anyone hated that movie. I mean, I'm sure someone did, but like, that was another like very competently made, like slick, entertaining movie. But that movie had legitimately 11 interesting characters that all played off of each other really well and had cool stuff going on in their personalities.
That movie also knew what it wanted to be. It was a heist movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And it did a heist movie well.
Yeah, and the heist plot was good and interesting.
And the characters were great. And
yeah.
So it worked as a movie. This is a movie about a guy meets girl, guy falls for girl, guy gets girl. But there's also stripping and drugs. Kind of thrown in there, and I thought they were like, for example, I don't know what there's a scene where the Jake, generic white guy name, the brother who doesn't matter, the prop.
Oh, Adam.
Yeah, see, same difference. He gets into Mike's truck because Mike gives him a ride, and he sees that there's plastic on the car, and I guess that was just there to say that Mike is conscious about his money and. Because he left the plastic on the
well, that's
dash.
what he says. That's what he says on the surface level, is that he leaves it there so that when he resells it, it'll be like it's brand new and he can sell it for more.
Yeah.
But really, there was some deeper symbolism to that, which is that Mike puts on this, like, outer shell of being just the coolest, most confident guy. It's this plastic wrap on his car, but of his personality. And really, like, he needs that plastic peeled off by his love interest, Brooke, who's going to peel away his layers. That's the symbolism there, Johnny. Don't you see it?
What's his resale value? $13,000.
Oh.
That's what he saved in the entirety of the 10 years he'd been stripping.
Yeah, that was
$13,000, and I was wondering.
That was a weirdly low number.
My first thought was, does this take place like at a different time, where maybe
like the 90s?
Like the 90s, but that truck did not look like it had come from the 90s.
No, it was definitely
pretty sure
that truck in
that
2012.
movie was based in 2011, 2012, early 10s,
right before the end of the world.
So yeah.
See, here's where you and I differ on this movie. They did a lot of interesting things in service of an uninteresting story, and I could appreciate those things.
Well, that's the whole drive of the movie. It's not the people, it's the things that happen that keep you tuned in.
Like, honestly, legit, when the movie's starting and Mike first meets Adam and they're in the club and they're going to pick up on some girls and they're whatever, and it looks like he's like kind of roping him into the stripper night. Like he doesn't tell him what they're going to go do. Like, it's very weirdly deceptive of Mike's character to do, and the whole scene had me thinking, because I knew very little about what actually happens in this movie. I knew it was supposed to be funny, but I didn't know what else it was supposed to be story-wise. I thought I was going to be watching a suspense thriller, that like someone's going to rope this poor kid into this seedy underworld of stripping, and it's going to go horribly wrong. And like, it did do those things, but not in the, like, I felt like I was watching the beginnings of like Hostel. Have you seen Hostel?
Been a while.
The first 40 minutes of the movie are just these guys hanging out in Czechoslovakia, or shit, the Czech Republic.
Should we even be talking about Hostel?
Hanging out in the Czech Republic, and all they're doing is trying to pick up on girls and party, but then like it turns into a murderous, torturous horror movie. And I knew it wasn't going to go that direction, but that beginning scene in the clubs had me feeling like this was going to go darker than I thought it would, and I was intrigued. And I think part of it was having no soundtrack, no score. Part of it was just the way that it was kind of shot and lit weirdly, all of the things we've talked about. It didn't let me know what kind of movie it was going to be until it was well into the movie, and it had me intrigued, and it turns out that it was kind of tricking me into being more intrigued than I should have been, but I still give it credit for getting me interested.
See, I hated that scene. I thought that whole scene was stupid. It was very fast. He runs into Mike, who gave him a ride home, and worked, the construction site with them. For some reason, he wants to go to this club. Hey, get me into the club. Oh, I can't do it, man. Come on, please,
he's 19,
get me into the club.
Of course he wants to get into the club.
I know. I'm getting there. So he's like, all right, I'm going to get you in, but you owe me big time. And so he gets him into the club. Rather than, like, going in and drinks and dancing with girls and having a good time, Mike immediately says, go talk to this girl. Say whatever. You've talked to girls before. So he goes over, he starts chatting with this girl. Then Mike shows up, invites him to the strip club. And then they immediately leave and
to
go to the strip club. And it's like, hey, remember how you owed me? Well, now's your time to pay up. It's like, you got me in to talk to someone to promote your business, and then I still owe you for that? We didn't even like drink or like do anything fun there. The whole point of going in there was just so you could promote the whole thing, and that's just bad writing.
No, I completely disagree. Can I counterpoint your counterpoint?
I suppose.
All right, Adam is 19. He's just going to be stoked to get into the club. He doesn't care that he's being manipulated or being used to promote the business. He's just like, whoa, you're a stripper. Oh my God. Like, he's 19. He's not even supposed to be in the club for another 2 years. So that to me was fine. The fact that he was naive and just followed Mike around doing that kind of stuff made perfect sense. Like, I was a dumb fuck who, I wasn't into clubs at 19. I wouldn't want to go and do that kind of thing. But if there was something I wasn't allowed to do that this like 30-year-old was like sneaking me into the places I want to be, oh yeah, I'm down. And he's like, oh, and you owe me. That was a wink wink moment, like to the audience and to Adam, like, oh, you're gonna owe me big. And it's like, of course he has something up his sleeve. You see when he says that line, just in his little twinkly eyes, that he's got a favor up his sleeve that he's already thinking of asking. It's not like it's just a general like, oh, you're gonna owe me a favor like a mafia boss. And then, yeah, they get into the club, and he's like, all right, time to cash in. You're helping work the crew. Like, clearly that was his plan.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have something you had to take care of? Yeah. I thought the fact that it was so fast, oh, you want to top me off there, pal? Be a pal? Yeah, no, the fact that it was so fast and manipulative, like, to me, that was perfectly in line with what I thought should be going on in this movie, which was that this 30-year-old stripper is going to manipulate this kid into the seedy underworld of stripping way too, like, fast and weird, and it's going to take him by surprise. He's going to get caught up in it. Like, I thought they did the whole first 20-30 minutes of the movie perfectly, and the movie lost me over time.
I think, once again, you're giving the movie too much credit. It's not that smart. It's not smart enough to be like, oh, well, he developed this plan as he was going along, that this kid was going to help work the props at the club. No, he didn't even want the kid to be around. He didn't like the kid. He was just like, fuck it, fine, I'll help you. You owe me. And then it just so happened. And then he immediately said, go talk to those girls. The whole point of that scene, in my opinion, which might not be correct, was to get this Adam character from being a jobless nobody to being a stripper as quickly as possible.
Not to being a stripper, but to be... He only wanted to help behind the scenes, set up the props. They only made him go out and be a stripper by accident because what's-his-fuck passed out backstage.
Oh, I'm not talking about the characters and the plot. I'm talking about the director.
You're talking about the screenwriter.
I'm talking about the screenwriter.
Like the movie as an entity.
The movie as an entity wanted to get him into a thong as quickly as possible.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't? Am I right?
He's no Channing.
No, but come on, who is?
But he becomes like the second biggest star.
Does he?
I guess.
Sort of.
Tarzan was lazy. I was watching Tarzan strip.
He was lazy.
He was lazy as fuck. He didn't even know how to twerk.
He was just ripped. That's what his appeal was.
He was a big boy.
He was the muscly one.
Yeah.
Here's something else I'll give the movie credit for. Now that I'm just gonna have to talk about how great Magic Mike is in front of you. The scene where the kid strips for the first time, they kind of just throw him out on the stage because the performer that was supposed to be his turn passed out. I thought they were gonna go super like cliche, unrealistic, like, oh, he walks out all shy and then busts out with some crazy ass dance moves and impresses everybody, and it's so cool. Who knew that he had such talent? But like, no, he just kind of awkwardly takes his clothes off and then kisses a girl, and like, it's not that good. And I was impressed with the movie for not trying to impress us with his opening scene on the stage, that it was just like all that he had was confidence, but he didn't have skill.
Yeah.
And then Matthew McConaughey's kind of like, oh yeah, this kid might have it. All right, I'm just going to have to mold him into a stripper, but he's got what it takes. That, to me, again, that was interestingly done.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I guess.
You guess.
So, in the end, this wasn't my favorite movie. It was all right.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite movie by any stretch.
Yeah.
No.
I thought it was very one-dimensional. But if you got nothing else to watch, it might be a fun movie to watch with friends. I think me watching it by myself maybe took away some of the appeal.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's cool to watch it by yourself because you can definitely be naked.
Yeah, well, I had my dick out. I mean, that's never watching a movie in a movie theater has never stopped me from taking my dick out.
Nice.
Who played Pee Wee Herman?
Watching it by myself was interesting because the humor in it, and there was plenty of humor. We haven't really touched on that at all, but like,
sure,
it got some chuckles out of me. Like, it was an amusing movie in that way, but the humor was more subtle than I thought it was gonna be going in. I thought it was gonna be a lot of like in-your-face overt references to nudity was going to be what got the laughs, but it really wasn't that.
Oh, you thought it was going to be a Judd Apatow movie?
I thought, yes. Yeah, sort of, yeah. I thought it was going to be a lot of, like, cock and ball jokes and sexual humor and, like, embarrassing, caught in this situation with your pants literally down kind of humor.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, it just so happened.
There was some funny, witty dialogue between the characters. Granted, it was not usually delivered great unless it was Olivia Munn or Matthew McConaughey. But I give the movie credit. To me, this movie is like the kid you think is gonna fail English and then writes an essay that gets a C+, and you're like, damn, I kind of have to focus on the good parts because I thought you'd get an F. And it's like, no, it was C+. It was fine. It did a lot of things well. It was just like the premise was weak and the characters were weak. And
you know he cheated, right?
No, Olivia Munn cheated. She had a fiance.
The kid that got the C. This movie cheated. It fooled you.
It
No,
did,
it
but
was-
I liked it fooling me. It was okay.
It was a C minus.
It was a C plus for me.
That's the biggest difference that we've had so far on all 3 of the episodes we have broadcast or published.
Did we actually give grades to the other 2? What did you give Terminator 2? Because I'd give it a straight A.
I gave one movie a P.
Oh, P for pass, and I gave it...
No, it wasn't for pass. It was for a funny word that I don't remember.
No, you literally said...
P for police. For Hot Fuzz. But I guess this time we're doing letter grades. Sure, why not?
Yeah, C plus.
But
for
I
Magic
think
Mike.
this has been the movie we've disagreed on the most.
Oh, for sure.
We generally have a pretty similar taste.
It's more so that I'm choosing to focus on the things I liked about it, whereas you're choosing to brush them off because of the major flaws that you're focusing on.
I brush nothing.
You certainly don't brush that hair.
I put my hat back on.
Yeah, you better.
Now I'm feeling a little judged.
So, I don't know. Can we just come back to the central question of this movie before we finish up?
Yes.
Why did this little $7 million movie about strippers make $170 million? Like, why was everyone talking about it? Why was this, like, now that we've seen it, what was it that made this movie have a unique cultural moment and not just a run at the box office?
Channing Tatum and Matthew McConaughey.
It was kind of Matthew McConaughey's breakthrough comeback, wasn't it? It was this was before Dallas Buyers Club and before Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I suppose it was. But they were the 2 best parts of the movie.
This was even before True Detective, wasn't it?
I never watched True Detective, so I don't know.
Season 1 of True Detective, anyone listening, is some of the best TV show I've ever seen.
Yeah, Matthew was in that, right?
Yeah, he's like the...
We're on first name basis.
Yeah, it's Matt. Matt to you. Matt McConaughey.
Yeah.
And
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. Oh, man. Season 2 was not for me. I couldn't finish it. But Season 1 is some of literally the best television I've ever seen.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But I think to get back to the commercial success of this film, I think it really comes down to the fact that I'm assuming that they went for Channing Tatum and they loved it for Matthew McConaughey and male strippers.
Okay. I think you're right on all those counts.
I know.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Pride.
It's no pride.
Just knowledge of self-worth.
I'm aware.
So, yeah, I think that they showed up for Channing Tatum because they found out that this very attractive man was going to take his clothes off a lot. And, again, to be fair to the movie, he did that. He delivered.
I did not see his dick once.
I know, but the penis pump was there in the movie.
I went to my chair to watch Netflix to see Channing Tatum dick, and I didn't see any Channing Tatum dick.
But you saw every other part of him. So what I'm saying is, like, when you watch an episode of Baywatch, like, there better be some people in bikinis and skimpy clothes, right? And if there isn't, it's a failure, regardless of if the writing was good. And at least in Magic Mike, like, if you went for male strippers, you got a healthy dose of male strippers. Like,
Sure.
and they did it in ways that was just, like, either montages or cut back and forth with other scenes where it didn't feel intrusive on the love story plot that was ostensibly happening. Like, the stripping scenes fit in the movie. They were integral. It was well done in the context of the film. So yeah, they went for Channing Tatum, and they saw his naked body. I agree. But I do think that what made this movie get that I'm going to go back and see it appealed. People who saw it twice. People who raved about it online. People who, like, made it have a cultural moment bigger than its box office numbers would even indicate. I really do think is that they took such a potentially sophomoric lowbrow concept of male strippers.
It made it appear...
And they made it appear more intelligent than it was. It made it like legitimized the interest that people were having in it. That they watched this movie and it didn't look like American Pie, for like American, which appeals to a male audience, right?
It
Mainly.
subverted expectations.
You could say that it subverted your expectations, but in a way that I think, even if it's not good,
It tricked people into thinking that it was better than it was.
In a novel way. I think there was a real novelty appeal to it.
Absolutely. Sure. I can see that.
I think that is really what made this movie as big as it was, is that they didn't necessarily do any particular thing that was special and original on its own, but the blend of elements was new to me in this particular way. Even watching it 6 years later, when you'd think that people would have kind of tried to copy it because it was so successful.
Someone is, though.
What?
They took the idea of Magic Mike, and I guess they're making their own movie. They're calling it Magic Mike 2, which seems a little strange. I feel like they're not allowed to do that.
It was actually called Magic Mike XXL.
Oh.
That was the name of the sequel.
It came out? Oh, I thought it was coming out soon.
No, you're not cool enough to know these things.
I don't want to sound uninformed.
But you are.
But we'll see if this makes it into the podcast. It may or may not. Now it will. Shit.
It did not do nearly as well as the first one, and it didn't have Matthew McConaughey. I don't think it even had the 2 female leads. It didn't have Brooke, because she's a terrible actress, and it didn't have Olivia Munn, because I think she was probably too famous by then. It didn't have... It just had the stripper club crew, minus Matthew McConaughey. They couldn't afford him, because he'd won an Oscar by then.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Just from reading about it online, it seems like it was far inferior to this movie, and so that means I will never watch it. Also, the ending of this movie, as far as the Mike and Brooke plotline, that was the exact right moment to end the movie. They make it's a really funny little witty piece of dialogue where it's like, man, we gotta wait 7 hours to go get breakfast, because they've been joking about breakfast.
Oh, I get it, because they're gonna
fuck for 7 hours.
Oh, that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, because they're in love, and people who are in love fuck.
Plus, have you seen his body?
It's hard.
It's hard as fuck, dude.
Yeah. And so it ends at the perfect right time for their story.
Sure.
Now, never mind that it ends at the complete wrong time for Adam and the strip crew's story.
I'm sorry, who?
Set piece character. Prop.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Brooks' brother.
The brother.
The Brooks brother.
The Brooks brother. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because he owes Mike $10,000 for covering up for his drug fiasco. He is all strung out and fucked up, and now he's
never gonna pay it because he's gonna get into drugs. He's gonna die. He's gonna get into drugs. He's gonna die. He's
right.
in Miami.
Yeah,
but who cares?
He's gonna die in Miami. But we don't get any resolution to his plotline at all, because it turns out, like you said, he's not even a character.
Well, yeah, if a prop breaks on set,
who cares?
No one cares.
You just buy a new one.
You just buy a new one.
And Adam was a prop.
He was replaceable.
Yeah. I did like that Matthew McConaughey was kind of like this villain, and there's this this sense of when he finally comes out and dances at the very end of the movie, he actually is a dancer. It's almost like that's the equivalent of the final boss fight villain confrontation in an action movie, kind of. Except that Mike wins by just walking away and going and going and finding the girl instead and hooking up with her, and that's his victory. There were some, again, I hesitate to use the word good, but there were some interesting things going on in this movie.
See, I compared the Matthew McConaughey dance to the film Free Willy.
Oh, that's when he jumps over the rocks and goes free.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of a different movie.
You're not thinking of The Killer Whale?
No.
What are you thinking of?
I don't know, some pornographic.
Oh, does someone free their willy out of their pants?
See, I was making a porn joke about dicks because the movie is about strippers and we didn't see a lot of dicks.
We didn't, yeah.
And I thought he was gonna free his willy, but
I was pretty okay with him not freeing his willy. That was okay.
No, I didn't care to see dicks. I'm joking, you guys. I mean,
who's you guys? It's just me here, Johnny. So that's Magic Mike.
I think that sums up Magic Mike.
I think that's Magic Mike.
Check it out. Why not?
Yeah, this is a
Netflix.
why not. You know what? That's perfect. This is a why not movie.
Yeah.
Do you have an hour and 50 minutes to kill?
Yeah, I still think it would be a good group movie.
Yeah, if you and some friends are just what the fuck? What are we gonna do? We're bored. We got 2 hours to kill. Let's watch a movie. And you're clicking through Netflix. And you're what are we? Nothing looks good. Put on Magic Mike. It'll be fine. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And you'll either enjoy it or you'll have fun making fun of it, and you'll really win either way.
It's a win-win. I recommend it. I don't think it's a great movie.
Ooh,
I don't
Johnny
like
just
it.
recommended it.
I don't like it, but I recommend it.
I kind of like it.
Because why not? Because it's a movie, I guess. And yeah, I didn't really care for it. It's not something that's going to hold a special place in my mind and heart. And
no,
soul.
I'll never request to watch it again to show it to somebody or really want to come back to it. But I would say that if I had to pick a side of liked it, didn't like it. I kinda liked it.
Sure. Why not?
I guess.
So,
now that we're done with Mr. Mike and his magic, let's talk about the one movie that we've seen in theaters since our last episode, which was...
Can we say it at the same time?
Ant-Man and the
Wasp.
Why'd you say it all slow?
Why did you say it so fast?
Well, I was just talking normal talk speed.
I was talking as if I would grown to a larger size, and sometimes the words take a little longer to come out.
Oh, and you're like standing in the San Francisco Bay.
Spoilers.
Oh, look at that.
It was in the trailer.
It was okay. So this is a spoiler-free review of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Semi-spoiler free, because we just told you that it takes place in San Francisco. It might still be in theaters at this point. I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, it definitely
came
is.
out July 7th.
We saw it when it came out. Like, yeah, it hasn't been out that long.
Yeah. Good movie to go see with your friends. That I don't want to say I have opinions, but I am afraid of conveying them. But I think that it is certainly a movie that you could see in theaters, or you could wait. I think either work.
I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it's not essential for theaters, but I would recommend going to see it.
Yeah, check it out. It's all right. Pretty good.
I think it's better than all right. I think it was pretty good. There were some parts of it that kind of turned me off in a way where they were like doing some rushed exposition type stuff, which a lot of these superhero movies, especially one that requires so much quote unquote science to explain the plot, there's definitely some rushed and or awkward exposition to it. But as soon as they move on from those little problematic parts, problematic for me, it never really loses momentum. The movie has very good pacing, lots of fun, lots of exciting set pieces and jokes and action scenes, and there's like two different villains who are about as different as villains can be, or whatever you want to call them, maybe even not villains but antagonists.
Yeah, and it was a Marvel movie. Disney does pretty well with Marvel movies.
Yeah.
They've got the formula down. They tweak it every once in a while, but for the most part, you can't really go wrong unless you're watching Iron Man 2.
Yeah, Iron Man 2. That might be
which
misfire.
is the one that everyone hates, but I didn't have a problem with it.
Oh yeah, no, I hated it. That's the one misfire for me that one.
They were figuring things out still at that
and
point.
Like the first Captain America movie, I didn't really like.
The early Marvel movies, they found their flow. So if you like Marvel movies, you're probably going to like this movie. Go check it out.
I would say when you were saying like they've got their formula down and they tweak it from time to time, I think the Ant-Man movies are a tweak to the formula.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely goofier and smaller scale, lower stakes.
Smaller scale, he says.
Scale. Oh, yeah, because he's an ant.
And Wasp.
Oh, dearie me.
Don't leave the Wasp out.
Yeah, she kicks more ass than Ant-Man does in this
small,
movie.
too.
I know, but then she gets big, and then she's small, and then she gets big.
Yeah, they both do.
The way that they play, and they did this in the first one, they did a good job with it, but they continue to do a good job with the really fun choreography of, I'm tiny, where did I go? You can't see me. I punched you while I was tiny. I got big. It faked you out. I got small again. Like the whole like shrinking and growing fight scenes were really fun. It's fun.
In terms of comic book movies, that is one of the funner powers. It reminded me somewhat of I was never a big fan of the X-Men movies, but whenever there's a fight scene in this movie, it reminds me of X-Men 2, and where they introduced Nightcrawler, who would fight with teleportation powers.
Yeah.
And his fights were always the most interesting. They could use that, that power in really fun ways. And they did with this movie, the shrinking.
And the growing.
Like
I know that we say spoiler free, this doesn't give away a plot point. I just want to say one of the most fun things in the movie. He rides a flatbed truck like a skateboard when he's big. I mean, there's just a lot of fun stuff like that they play with the size.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. I'd recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I think aside from being fun and funny and having cool fights, it was also just really well paced and well shot. It was I mean this as a compliment, not as just a down the middle word. Like, it was very competently made. Like, I didn't ever feel like anybody was missing any of their beats in this movie, whether it was actors, writers, directors. set directors, costume designers, like everything about it just was very watchable, very engrossing.
Yes. That being said, I think it's about time that we end this podcast. If you've noticed a difference in sound quality, we've made some upgrades.
New microphone.
We have a new microphone. I think that I'm going to keep this mic. I like it, but I've yet to listen to the recording, so we'll see. But if you think it's a nice change,
You didn't listen to the recording while we were recording it?
no,
It's like Spaceballs. What's happening now is happening now.
exactly. So I think the best way to test the quality of the microphone is to end the podcast with a cheers, because we've been drinking this whole time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is Ryan,
This is Johnny.
signing off.
Goodbye.